Hello and welcome to another episode of Maddie Allen Live. I'm your host, Maddie Allen, with special guest Krypto Koolaid.
What's going on?
And you're a video game architect and also an investor in crypto who has a lot of experience and a lot of brilliant insights. So I'm super excited to be streaming with you. I also consider you a close friend in crypto as well.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. What's going on, everyone?
Tonight, we're going to be talking about what is game theory and bringing up the controversy between Bitcoin and HEX, comparing how they're different. And then as an extra bonus, we'll be talking about whether crypto is even a glitch in the first place. What does all this programming mean? And so before we get started here, I'm going to run an ad and then we'll get ready to start. I have no idea why I call it an ad because it's not really an ad. It's just like telling people to go join Theta, which I haven't figured out how to stream on yet. So it's like, it's pretty weird, but.
Yeah, nice little intro bumper. You can call it that.
Yeah. Wow. We got a bunch of people joining who are all commenting here. Crypto King, how's it going? Effortless.crypto, Joe Rosen. I thought it was Rogan at first. I was like, hey, Joe Rogan, thanks for tuning in. Dangerously Stupid, Cass Roulette, Unhexable, Bit Finesse, Piston Broke, Identity Block. It's good to see everybody. Let's see. So how you doing, Krypto Koolaid?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just living life and enjoying things. I'm glad that I'm not in a situation where I've lost power or freezing pipes or anything like that. So, definitely in a good place. How about yourself?
Yeah, I have a lot of snow I'm dealing with here, but it's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind the snow too much as long as you have the infrastructure to actually move it around.
Yeah. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it seems like crypto is doing pretty well these days, huh?
It's definitely taking a tear. I mean, ETH's doing well, Bitcoin's doing well, BNB is going insane right now. And HEX is generating great interest. So everything seems to be, taking new shape and new form over the past year. And if you think about how far things have come since March of last year at the last bottom, it's pretty insane how that slingshot can go, that bear market couldn't end fast enough. And then, the slingshot to the top, people are like, why did it happen so fast?
My theory on the flash crash in March that happened around COVID, right? My theory on that is they were literally just clearing out all the longs. So because they knew that they were going to pump it. So there's this wick down to like the all-time low out of like the last 2 years or something on Bitcoin. It wicked down to like 3,500, 3,800, somewhere in there. And then it just took off. Today it's 55, 56,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and that's a thing that's just going to constantly happen with the financial institutions in general. We can clearly see what happened with GameStop and what happens with hedge funds. With the digital aspect of money, things happen so much quicker. Wall Street doesn't close, or crypto, Wall Street doesn't close. Things just continually happen. So those flash crashes and the way large sums or large money of people will manipulate it will just continue to go that way. That's again why staking your time, things out, not having to worry about the weak hands, and just doing the promise that what you want to do when you want to do it is a much better way to play, right?
I have this fantasy that I lived outside of the United States and I opened up a perpetual long on Bitcoin near the bottom and forgot about it. But then I saw that one wick and it makes me sad.
Right. Well, that's the fortunate thing is that looking in hindsight, you can see that you're not still too late if you make the commitment to do something and start adding to your portfolio today. We kind of talked about it in the exchange conference about making your wallet a game character and how do you diversify,
Yes.
level up your character of your wallet, and you think about it at those type of levels on how you're going to expand that further and make those investments to yourself. And then I see in the chat we got Dave Morales, we got Motley and Bitfinesse and Brandon there. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, and I want to get into that, into your kind of characterization of wallets as being characters. I love that. I love how you look at things in crypto as really being related to game theory and the broad definition of how we look at it. I think, like, to close out my thoughts on what the general price in crypto is doing. I've lived through like most of the last bull market, then a full bear market, and now going into another bull market. And so like, but I was such a noob like when the first bull market was happening. It's like I was studying it very closely, but I can't say that I had access to so many great minds as I do in HEX, people who have been in crypto for a long time. And so it's kind of weird to like look around and like, be hearing people make calls who like I'm peers with basically. And, and I want to believe that ETH can go to 20,000, but the way that I'm actually, playing my hand is that I really don't know where in the bubble it's going to stop, right? I don't know if it's going to stop at 2,500. I don't know if it's going to stop at 20,000. And so it's really hard for me to hold on to ETH, especially because it's so convertible into HEX. And I know that HEX is going to pay during basically a bear market. I know it's going to pay a certain percentage APY that's out of this world. And so it's hard for me to pass that up.
It's really in good points all over across the board. But you have to also think that right now you need ETH to use, stake, and manipulate HEX. Just even like looking at the situational awareness of if the MetaMask airdrop comes around, you'll need to have made those transactions, right? And so let's just say you're doing a swap, ETH to USD, ETH to HEX, whatever, twice, just back and forward, and then send your ETH somewhere else. So you store up that dry powder for buying dips and all the rest of that. HEX itself, its use case is to earn you interest, right? But that doesn't mean like having the other things on deck are not other use cases for what they do, right? ETH is the gas used to drive a particular car. Without particular car's gas, you can't drive that particular, vehicle. As Bitcoin jumps up, it's always been the punching bag to break through the liquidity streams to bring money in, and it kind of is the barometer of what crypto is doing as a whole. So you can look at the weather by looking at what Bitcoin is doing. If Bitcoin flash crashes, altcoins usually follow as well. So everyone kind of has like a use case when you're looking at the characters of their worth, right, and where their applicationable use cases are. Right. So I love having my HEX staking, all the rest of that, but I'm still going to have a little bit of ETH for dry powder to buy dips, to manipulate. So
like what percentage would you say?
That's a hard
portfolio would you keep in ETH? Because like
that's
really hard. It's really hard for me to go from like 5% to 10% in ETH, like of my portfolio. I just can't hold on to the ETH. It's too useful.
That's like inherently the problem too. If you think about like how much gas fees are and how much they're going to be in the future, it's kind of like future proofing yourself. Like a lot of my stakes are very, very, very long. And so I want to be able to have that powder to buy on dips that I want to do. I want to have the ETH to manipulate particular type of things, just like the opportunity at Uniswap, 1inch token, possibly MetaMask, things like that. So if I don't have that ability, it's kind of like not having air in your tires, or something like that. Now, the percentage wise, The dry powder that I have, and it's nowhere near the comparison of my percentages in HEX, because I pretty much went all in HEX. I sold, my 100,000 Cardano that I had. I went all in on everything. Not the earliest, but not definitely the latest. I think it was like August, September. But now I've sold some other things that I had access to, and I've got it as ETH. So, do I want to make more stakes out, or do I want to take the principal and interest I'm going to get off my second or third year stakes and just keep those T-shares rising right there? Like, that level of character is already played. Now you have to think about where your extent of your other character is, because let's say, for example, ETH runs up to 25,000. You have a couple ETH. You cash out to USDC or something like that, ride it right back down, and then 20 times or 10x your stack back of ETH if it goes from 20K to 12 or 14. And you don't have to ride that to the top and the bottom.
I would love to do that.
Right?
Sign me up.
But just using that to, keep that powder keg available is also good. And to think about those things. A lot of times, I've been really committed into one thing in cryptocurrency, and I didn't have the opportunity to make those wiggle rooms. Like, I didn't have any liquidity when 1inch was around, or everyone was talking about it, and I didn't have the fiat liquidity to put it in. So I was kind of like stuck with my hands behind my back because I went all in HEX. I was very happy I did because it's all pretty big payday, right?
Absolutely.
But now, you have to wonder, how do you continue thinking smartly? And game theory is just critical thinking in general. It's critical thinking with a purpose, and you can apply that to many different aspects. Like, for example, let's say a whole bunch of hexagons, and our tribe of people get the MetaMask airdrop. There's going to be a lot of conversions into HEX, right? And that's going to pump the price up. And those of us that are staked, it doesn't matter to us either way, right? Because then
it's interesting that the latest airdrop, I think hexagons mostly all put it into ETH because we need to have basically the ability to do these more expensive stakes. I think because Hexologist said he put half of his airdrop into ETH and half into HEX. And so I think a lot of people are kind of taking that approach. But yeah, if we get even another airdrop, I think people are definitely going to be putting a lot of it into HEX and maybe less into ETH this time. Or if it's a magnitude larger, some people might leave some in MetaMask and then get some primarily HEX, probably because they'll continue to discover how valuable HEX is. Even the people who understand it now, I think it's very understated how this, because it's hard for humans to understand an exponential function that comes with the compounded interest that's given to you up front with the T-shares, and then you start to see it unfold as your stack grows and grows. I wanted to make a note though that I was like laughing my ass off this morning when I woke up. I had a message from Vitalik, not to me, but to his channel on Telegram. And it's I'm out here spending all this money on airdrops, speculating all these gas fees and everything, right? Because I had a little bit of ETH that so I set up a bunch of wallets that have HEX in them, and then I left behind some ETH so that I could do transactions in the future. I went into all those wallets and just spent all the ETH on a MetaMask transaction in case they qualify, right? And then I have enough ETH so I could immediately, no matter what the transaction fees are, I could go in and do one conversion with a potential MetaMask swap, and now I have a bunch of ETH, and then I can unlock the rest of them, right? But this message, Vitalik has written, I don't know, a 20 or 30 page paper on how he's been gambling on the presidential elections and stuff, in Ethereum. And it's just dude, what are you doing? Work on the fee issues. But at the same time, I don't want him to work on the fee issues because that's probably part of the reason why the price continues to go up, along with other factors as well. What do you think about that?
I think you're definitely right. The cause and effect of the scarcity and use caseness of things definitely have a correlation to how things go. And if you also look at, like, let's say BNB is on a tear right now, but the reason why you hold BNB is so you have less trading fees. Granted, don't use centralized exchange, but we can look at what they're doing to mitigate it. So you're going to be spending your BNB for your transactions, which of course I prefer DEX. I think most of us in our community do, but
Oh yeah.
that's how they're getting around particular fee sets. But coming from the free aspect, that's where things like Staker app is going to be coming in. The people who are starting to get in now have the benefit that they can start with Staker app versus like all the rest of us that will eventually be mitigating our stuff to Staker app, just to have that full ecosystem coming in there. So it just, even as we evolve with our wallets, our stakes, and all the rest of that, the culmination of what we use to interact with our smart contracts evolve as well.
Like Vitalik, if you're trying to make money, like pretty much just invest in HEX, dude. Like it doesn't have to be this complicated. Like what does futarchy even mean? Like how is that even a word? This dude is way too smart for his own good. Like if he's spending his time doing all this, like dude, what are you doing? Just fix the fees, Like he spent all this time just gambling on the election. Like and then writing a blog post about it. Like that's so unimportant. And he even says he didn't make that much money off of it. Like oh my god!
That's the whole thing. Is like when you have to get to a particular amount of wealth, the game changes, right?
Yes, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
He just basically wants to do what he wants to do. It doesn't really.
Yes.
He can pretty much just waste his time however he wants, and that's when you when you achieve at that market level, there's nothing. You want to bet on an election and write a blog about it? I mean, at least he got out of bed this week. He doesn't really have to do that.
Yeah, at least.
And so, like Crypto King saying, $100 fee is not an issue. Well, it depends if how much liquidity you have. So, like I've been always trying to preach to people. Once it clicked that $60 a paycheck is a good place to start. What's not a good place to start is zero, and then a few years go down the road, and you're like, "Woulda, shoulda, coulda," right? Who doesn't wish they would have bought BTC at 3K now? And I talked about it like at the beginning of the game panel discussion the last time, is that we are conditioned as a species and as a society to FOMO in when the time of missing out has happened, because we don't want to be the last on the bus. However, we aren't conditioned to buy when you should, when it's low and psychologically available. You should buy a used car that has low mileage, not a brand new car, because you're going to immediately lose value driving it off the lot. And there's not that much of a difference besides the new car smell. You know what I mean? If you got something that has 10, 20,
buy that.
30,000 miles to like depreciate immediately, it's different.
Amazon.com/new car smell.
Like, that's right. And it's psychological. And it's also pushed by the society, right? So, I had a friend that reached out to me today, and apparently he has a whole bunch of Ripple on Coinbase, and he's locked out. And I'm just like, I should have told you. I mean, I talked to you a while about this. Don't use Coinbase. Don't be on the herd side, because by the time that comes back to whiplash you, it's going to hurt. And at least always have the knowledge to have foresight into what's going on. And usually that's having knowledge, taking the time to learn and get in there. Whereas most people, again, follow the craze hike. Right, the game.
Go ahead. There was an exchange today or yesterday that announced that they're delisting Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin BSV. It's like OK Coin or some exchange, some major exchange in Asia.
Qcoin?
Yeah, that might be it. That's crazy. Like
I'm shocked they get rid of cash.
We're protecting Bitcoin's name. Like, no, you're an exchange. You're way seedier than that.
Well, wasn't Qcoin the one that had the president got arrested, so no one could withdraw for a while? Was that OKEX?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
It was one of those two. But that's inherently the issue that you're going to have with centralized exchanges, right? I mean,
Somebody
even
paid 180 last night to swap ETH for HEX.
Just doing those 4 swaps on MetaMask was expensive, and I did 4 wallets, but it's worth in my mind, regardless of it comes or not, it's worth the effort because I happen to have dry powder this time, which the other times I did not have dry powder. Luckily, we all use Uniswap back in the day, so that one was a no-brainer. I wish I would have done it in multiple wallets, right?
I know, right?
But I have to listen to Motley and taking heed from the stuff that I've seen before. It was worth the risk and investment. Now, looking forward, again, a lot of our tribe will convert that into HEX, or at least keep that dry powder as ETH ready to buy those dips. And that liquidity push into it. Okay, coin is what Tripod said, not coin. That push is all you need for that dry tender to send us over, 5 cents, 10 cents, or whatever the random arbitrary number is. And we've done a really good job throughout this process of staying above a penny, which is fantastic. Everyone complains so much about price go up, go down. Well, T-share price go up, and that doesn't matter. And interest stay there. That's fantastic. And looking at that, not chasing the dragon's tail, it saves you from yourself, right? If you're really worried that much about price action, stay liquid, but you're not going to get the benefit of interest. So you have to look at what do you want to do, right? And that's inherently the game theory is how do you want to build that longevity, that time?
There are many definitions of game theory because I think that there are so many different branches of economics, kind of like behavioral economics and stuff. It's all nobody can decide what it really means. To some extent, there's a lot of discourse on that, and I see so and you're more of an expert than I am, but the way I see the definition of game theory is almost how can you predict what people are going to do in the future within a system based on what the incentives are that are so overwhelming that to a certain degree you can predict human behavior to the point where that behavior is affecting the system or affecting other behavior. So in the case of Bitcoin, it's like we know that if the miners are in charge of the security and they're getting paid in Bitcoin, then they have an incentive to maintain the legitimacy of the network. Otherwise, basically their pay would be gone. They would destroy their own pay. How do you see the definition of game theory?
Well, the game theory in and of itself, again, like I said earlier, is a common sense place of mechanics that interchange into each other. So you can use that as a therapist, telling you how you talk to someone, how you bring triggerable carrot and stick situations. It's how deep or meta you can get into it. It really depends on what you want to do, but people wrap game theory just around mechanics. Is essentially stuff at the end of the day. How does things work? How do they correlate and react to each other? And what is the predictable behavior of that? For example, throw a ball into some water. You assume it's going to splash. Add the mechanic that the water is now cold and now it skips or it cracks or it breaks through. And so as those things move forward, you can see those predictable results, right? And so like the Coinbase effect is that people always bought the rumor that when something's going to get listed on Coinbase, the Coinbase plebs that don't know any better are going to see this and then jump at it. And because that is happening, it pumps. Same thing with the Binance pump. If you know something is going to get on Binance before it does in the olden times, it used to run up. Same thing with the top of CoinMarketCap. Now, those things technically are vanity
They were
metrics.
caught buying too. Like Coinbase was caught buying things before they made the announcement.
Oh, I'm
right?
sure.
So,
I'm sure. Yeah, it doesn't. All of that doesn't surprise me, right? The only thing that's really interesting about what we have now is a more transparent view place into what's been going on this whole time. Even if we look at like how Wall Street bets or the stock market people were like, whoa, poor people are getting rich. We can't have any of that. And that's when they, took the the margin trading or the options trading off of AMC, GameStop, and there was all this kerfuffling trying to stop that wedge going up, so then it would crash. And when it crashes, people are going to get their real first taste of pump and dumping, right? Because a lot of people hadn't been in crypto enough to realize the hurt that comes with the boomerang whipsaw of the pump and dump. Everything can go up and down. But they weren't ready for that, so they're going to hold it all the way down to the ground when all the big players had already dumped on their heads, right? And even, I talked about that, looking at your stake time with something like, Desktop Vision or Hex Vision, you can kind of place where that there's dumping going to be happening. But we got to get past July now before like that big flattening out, I think, comes.
Yeah, I would argue though on that point that people's decisions haven't been made yet. So even if somebody is planning on dumping, if they get new information in the meantime that convinces them, right, that the price will be much higher later on in the game, or even if Hex is like conditioning people to hold longer by rewarding them, and then once they have that experience of being rewarded for holding longer, then they may be transformed from a degenerate trader, right, to somebody who is having completely different behavior and a different psychology in the market.
Oh, of course. But the thing is that if they don't have any gas to begin with, there's nothing that can happen, right? Now, but I do agree with you, just because you have the option to drive a car really, really fast against the speed limit if you want to, because you have the ability to press gas pedal go. But if there's no gas in your car, like there's no ability, that's just going to withdraw the tangible ability to even do that, to make that market move go forward. So I do agree that just because they have the option to dump, I don't think that they will. It's just once we know that is the hard line where the big stakes have released themselves, from whether they trickle in, whether they restake, time will tell. It's transparent. We can look at those wallets. So it's not like that number cannot be tracked. We can even look at what Silver does or anything like that. There are people that are actively able
Silver, the antidote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like what they do, or in his community does, actively tracks those things. So there are people and there's conversations that you can get into to find out more information should you want it. Me looking at the simple mechanics, though, after July, numbers going to go insanely high. And so, but again, I'm staked out for another 2 years for my first big one to even come out. Doesn't matter to me. I'm happy that the community is getting built more than worry about price go up, because price eventually will go up.
So you're saying price follows community and price follows scarcity, and we know that we're super bullish on those things.
Well, it's not in use case community, and like I was saying before,
and scarcity follows price in this case with HEX, because basically it's going to be worth more to lock up, and like your locked rewards are going to get bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah, correct. And then even like you can see that in like how, Steph and all those guys made it the ladder system, fun emojis where you can be dolphin, whale, squid, all the rest of that stuff. You can see for me and mine, so when you look on the app and you see the little bit of interest number comes up every like 2 or 3 days, and then you're like, wow, it's really working. I can see that every little bit comes in.
Yeah.
I kind of like run those numbers in my head to be like, okay, this is about what I'm getting a year. That's amazing. And then you think about like rolling back in time to when a bunch of you guys got in at early days when the price was so low, that when everything kind of ripshaws up and up and up, as everything goes up and up and up, exposure gets there, use case gets there, people are going to think a penny's like exceptionally cheap, right? And that's the thing is now, like looking at what, like we're just talking random price and random tokens, like BNB being, what was it, $25 beginning of last year, like that?
Yeah, it was like 40 when I looked, like that it was like 3 months ago or a year ago.
Yeah, now it's like it's cruising over 300. So I remember when it first came out and it was like 5, but
oh yeah, I remember that.
But like people will have that same interest in HEX and ETH because of its utility, right? Like if you're not using a VPN to use Binance, and let's say you're in the States, or you got to use Binance USA, and they can have different rules and regulations than what any other token has, and then your address is locked up into that type of stuff. So, sitting on the after seeing the crazy crashes, the invulnerabilities, the craziness of the last bull bear cycle, I'm very, very happy to just be hanging out in decentralized land and have my stuff secured, have my stuff staked, have some dry powder that I can make other suggestions if I decide to do that. But then, look and get on and talk with people about how great, this opportunity is with a product that's already been done that doesn't have the falls of the other ecosystems. I think we should try to engage more of those Reddit subgroups and all the rest of that type of stuff. That's Reddit. I build games. I'm not sticking my toe into the subculture of the internet where there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. But I think that that's wise to grow our reach, especially through if they're already using apps like Robinhood to engage with something because they just want that easy ecosystem. Once they get that fiat onboarding from like Uphold or whatever, Gemini, Kareem was talking about the other day how Gemini gives you 30 transfers a month to get your tokens out. I mean, if you're slow buying in like once every 2 weeks, 2 transfers to your Staker app wallet, and then you're good, right? So you don't have to worry about all the rest of it. And if these guys are really engaged of taking the financial industry on from the little guy's point of view, which is what I really enjoyed about watching the whole GameStop pump, they can learn that they can join the same type of ecosystem that's taking on the big financial ladders without having the risk of the shorts being dropped on their head, right?
Yeah, I think like even what Richard said about like glorifying a pump and dump group, I think like there are so many different layers to the GameStop story, and I love this story where it's Occupy Wall Street 2.0 and where it's going against the hedge funds. But really what happened is the hedge funds did super well because they got bailed out by the people who pay off Robinhood in the first place to take away the buy button. Congress has been having hearings. They interviewed Roaring Kitty yesterday or today, who is like the guy who bought GameStop like ultra far futures a year and a half ago and did all the reports and all the YouTube videos where he explained why it was undervalued. And then he was the leader of basically that trade within the pump and dump group. And I mean, he made off super well, obviously, which is why he's sitting in front of Congress, like being the person who started it all. But I mean, then Citadel got up there and was defending payment for order flow. And I thought, the Allin podcast with like these 3 or 4, millionaires or billionaires with Chamath and everybody, I thought they were really going to lay into the guy who founded Robinhood and who's corrupt AF. But sure enough, they kind of did 3 episodes about it and really left it in a place where, no, it's cool. Like, one of them basically owns the company ahead of time, like ahead of the IPO. Like Robinhood says that they are wanting to democratize investing. And at the same time, they're not willing to do a direct IPO. Like, get out of here. Get out.
We've existed in a world where the the powerful and the wealthy have different set of rules they play by. That's again one of the bigger inherent things about modern digital era communication, the internet, digital money, all the rest of that has torn the eclipse of power away. It's not like but it started. Now there's more opportunities for you to educate yourself, find ways to level up your character, whether that's finance, wallets, knowledge, growth. And because of that, there's more of opportunity. For example, I have $247,000 in student loan debt. I have paid between $1,000 to $1,600 a month for over 10 years. I graduated in 2010, and I still have over $247,000. It has just been the interest. I have not.
That's not okay. Like,
it's not. You want to see a real Ponzi?
like,
That is a real
yeah,
Ponzi. Like you can't
that's
escape it.
usury.
Yeah, like you
It's
can't.
immoral.
It is. But that's
It's
the
immoral.
system that everything else is built on, the system of debt. And so, the new ecosystem of financial money and, again, paying yourself into the future, that
Yes.
inherently is better knowledge and better use of the time extent. So I'm not worried long term if I'm going to be able to pay those loans off. I just have to get to that point. Right.
Yeah.
And I just have to hold tight and keep working and doing all those things. But if I had not made the right decisions, whether that was, I always say, like, back in, what was it, 2014, I didn't get to click that, Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies were fractionalized assets, right? I didn't have the $2,000 to buy one shares of the Bitcoin. So I didn't get how it all worked yet. Right. And because I lost all that time, when I would have learned more on how it worked, I would have seen ETH at pennies or $1, right? I would have been more into that ecosystem of growth. So just being fortunate that you get in now, and even holding ETH, holding HEX, staking your HEX if you want to actually get those interest values, not just the monetary values, because the interest values is what you get from going back in time. I mean, we can talk about Kareem and the maths on how it gets crazy, and it does. The bigger crazy part is what happens if you don't do it, right? And you don't realize those time of gains, the time that you've lost, and how quickly that can slingshot up into being like, well, I didn't expect that to happen that fast, right?
Yeah, like compound interest is definitely a crazy thing. But if you think about how, the printing press goes burr, right? And that's working against you in any other investment, but not necessarily in crypto, because we have provable scarcity and we have future, monetary policy mapped out based on math. That's a really incredible thing. One of the points that I'm trying to explore with multiple people, I think this week, is the concept that I had an aha moment once I realized that this low liquidity game, it serves many, many different kind of game theoretical functions or kind of high level tricks, right? Because first of all, it makes it look like a scam, right? Which it's not, okay?
Not a scam.
Like some scams have low liquidity because they don't want you to be able to exit so they can dump on your head. HEX is not that situation because the OA has billions of dollars of ETH. Okay. Second point is that the low liquidity makes it so literally if Wall Street wanted to get in, they couldn't, because they would push the price so far against themselves that it would totally change the opportunity. Right. And if they wanted to use their normal tactics of scaring people into selling, they couldn't even spend billions of dollars to do advertising to make people dump, because they're not going to make the OA sell and they're not going to make the stakers sell. So how much HEX can somebody really buy right now without pushing the price against themselves in such multiples? I mean, we calculated the other day, I think you could only make 5 or 10 more sharks without pushing the price 100x against yourself. So the low liquidity is just insane. So basically dump on people's heads. But if you get people basically in the middle class, those are the people who might have the strongest hands in the end. People who are already in HEX and so they're adding to their stacks, or people who are coming in with at least $1,000, but you can't really come in with, $500,000.
Right.
You just can't, which is awesome.
It really is. Well, you had it all right on the head. Also, the low liquidity means you can't really dump. It's not like you can't get out. The question
Correct.
is how much do you want to lose of your investment trying to game this system that's designed to not encourage pump and dumps, right? And so once enough of the liquidity and stuff has, like you said, been bought up, the people that decide to make moves will consciously do it because they understand the value of those moves. Most likely will not be those that are looking to dump in the future. So if like an investor came in with like, let's say, 6 figures or something like that, they would probably be doing it for a stake that is going to go long term. They would be buying it over a loose amount of month or two, right? And not just like one big buy order to get one big candle. And remember that those things are just going to allow those few other whales that have been sitting on the sidelines that I was talking about earlier, that July is the downward spiral of most of those huge candles of people that have that liquidity. So once those have been equalized out, then it's easy sailing.
July is the end of opportunities, right?
Yeah. So I mean, let's
a way to look at it, and it's like the same way that like somebody big coming in would push the price against themselves is the same way that somebody big who wants to leave the system would push the price against themselves in a low liquidity environment. And so if you want to sell $50,000 worth of HEX, on the market, we're seeing what just happened to that. They push the price against themselves from a penny down to 85% of a penny, right? And then it's getting bought back up really fast, and those dips aren't lasting. So literally what's happening is people are getting punished for even holding HEX and then trying to sell it, right? Because there's such low liquidity. You can't be big and hold liquid HEX without either paying inflation to the staking class or getting punished if you get out by moving the price against yourself. So it's really squeezing people into learning what's the most valuable strategy for yourself is to delay gratification and to get medium-sized people into the system and to get people who are already in to lock up their coins and stake longer so that that scarcity continues to manifest itself. That scarcity continues to go up, right?
Yep. And even I was making those mistakes at the very beginning. Like I had a decent sized stake that expired right after big payday, and I was looking to see what I was going to do. And then I just kept looking at the chart, and I'm like, screw it, and tossed it back out into some later stakes because I know that coming in 2 years, I start to get the fruits of my labor of how I broke everything up into a 10-year ladder. But just looking at right now, the possible bottom of, like you were saying, opportunities, we have 5.3, we've got 3.6 billion coming out in August, 1.2. But then we don't have that many heads left to have that exchange of value from the whales that want to dump and get out to the people that now are really going to push the price back up.
And what happens when those stakes come out into a low liquidity environment?
T-shares go up, right? You know what I mean? And so
the price of T-shares goes up, but also you can't really exit with that much without dumping the price so hard that it's going to create value for everybody except the person getting out.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when those stakes expire and you either do good accounting or you end stake, that's when the math which pushes the T-shares go up. So those, regardless of what they dump or not, just by ending the stake, they have now triggered the inciting event, which makes the T-shares get more expensive.
More valuable.
Right. So
the ones that are still existing.
Yeah, because you can't restake to get the same T-share value, right?
You push the T-share price against yourself.
Correct. Yeah, so not even the monetary fiat value, you push the T-share fiat value, or the price of a T-share and the complexity or the Bitcoin miningness of it, right? You know how the equation of a Bitcoin miner goes up and up and up and harder and harder and harder. Same thing will happen with the T-shares. So just that inciting action, from how I understand it, and I could be wrong, that still eclipses and goes up. So even if those stakes are benevolent whales that don't want to do anything but restake it, their actions will create a perpetual snowball effect, which creates it to go up. Then you have the other black swan events
and what it does is not only could make people scared, right, that like the price is going to dump, which in our low liquidity environment we have more assurances that there would be pressure for the whale to not sell. There's already game theory pressure for the whale to not sell, but then included in all of this, if you don't get in before the whale sells, then you're missing out on a lower T-share rate than you would have in the future.
Not sell necessarily, just interact with the contract to end their stake, because they don't have to sell it for the T-share price to go up. They just go to count it, or they
That's
do.
right. That's right.
Yeah, and so like changing the liquidity actually has nothing to do with it. It's a double-edged sword on ending your stake. It now forces you to immediately consider restaking and try to get close to your other T-share rate, hold and see where the price is going to do, or dump based on what market cycle it is. Those are the three things that you have to consider.
Yeah, separate things. Yeah.
Anytime that your stake ends, and by ending your stake, the T-share rate is going to be reflected within that ecosystem. But also look at, again, those like crazy black swan events that, what if, let's just say there's, 3,000 hexkins or something like that? I mean, God knows how many versus wallets versus people versus all the rest of that. But let's say 3,000. Everyone does a MetaMask swap. Everyone gets an airdrop. So 3,000, let's say, times.
Stop. You're going to make me too happy.
It gets nutty, but those are all black swan events, right? That no one was anticipating a Uniswap airdrop.
Yeah. So MetaMask airdrop, okay, low liquidity, everybody buys it once, and then the OA puts massive liquidity at that higher level of ETH and HEX on both sides, and so you literally can't drop the price back down.
Yeah, there. I mean, if you look at like walls and like war, and I can't like think of the like Stalin's wall, or not the big one, but like how rank and file move forward to prevent enemy from flanking and attacking, or all the rest of that type of stuff. I do believe that the OA, benevolent whales, and rank and file of the hexagons will create that new barrage that's going to not allow the price to go back down, right? We've been doing really well at holding above a penny. Penny's fine, because you're still getting the interest.
I'm not allergic to a penny.
I'm not allergic to a penny at all. I wish I got in at that super under a penny level before, but I'm okay with a penny because I can see the writing on the wall. The next wedge up will hold at like 5 cents. I'm not allergic to 5 cents either. You want to hold that line? I'm okay with the Spartan 300 on 5 cents, and then it just moves forward, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Somebody says, so you can't sell a huge. Oh wait. That's not the original question. OP, original poster. So nobody can buy or sell. How is this helping anybody? At some point, you have to let the market say what something is worth. So
you can buy and sell.
Yeah, it's just that you have to make medium moves. Otherwise, you move the market against yourself. And so it's not somebody saying that the market can't tell you what it's worth. It's literally part of the mechanism in game theory of HEX that it's more profitable to not create liquidity because you want to lock up your coins and get this super high interest rate. So that's part of the rollout. And that's the super high interest rate, I don't believe is going to last forever. I think it's going to last 3 to 6 years, 2.5 to 5 years, somewhere in there, just depending on how things play out on what time scale. Because remember, the super high APY is caused by the OA not staking, because the OA has maybe 80 or 85% of the coins, right? Instead of 51%, which would be all you need to stop a hard fork malicious attack, right? And so that's the beauty of this, is that this is part of the original supply coin distribution that's happening, but only happening to people who have strong hands, instead of people who would have bought those coins at a lower price in the early days of HEX, whenever maybe the OA was recycling a little bit of ETH, but only to support the price and make a market, to not give the people who got in then 10x the amount of HEX they would have, and so it would basically stabilize the initial launch. And I'm not aware of any other coin that had such a genius way of launching in order to make sure that the Genesis coins would fall into the hands that are the strongest, and cause hands to become stronger by rewarding people over 15 years. I think that's a really powerful thing.
Sure. No, completely agree on that. And like, again, if we just take like a simple video game concept, if you swim underwater, you can hold your breath for so long, and then right near the end, you slowly die. So, and then eventually you drown. So that same logic, you can swim underwater and sell as much as you want, but at some point, based on the amount of pressure or how deep you're trying to go down into the water, that's when it starts to hurt you, and you make events that cave upon themselves, right? And so and that's also for people with a lot of money, right? And so, like, if you want to ask, if someone wants to get out $1 million, the price go up for the same person wants to buy in $1 million. So it works within both ecosystems in both ways. If you're going to ladder out of something, you should ladder out of it gracefully to not create pump and dump environments that can't handle that kind of weight. Now, let's say 5-10 years down the road, there's so much more adoption that more liquidity is being added because more ETH is being bought and all the rest of that. So that gives the fishing pools the ability to bring in bigger fish and do more work and all the rest of that type of stuff. So you don't want to, troll out a whole lake at once and just deplete the ecosystem. It doesn't do well for anything. You ladder into something just as you should ladder out. And big money knows how to do that too. So big money actually uses those same tactics against you. It's new money that are learning how to do this that are really the most affected by pump and dumps, weak hands, all the rest of that, because most old money always has a fuck ton of dry powder back there to keep buying, right? If they don't have to, they can buy every dip that there is.
But they have to spread it out over time whenever they're losing part of that Genesis APY.
Sure.
So
well, that's just the Genesis
with
APY.
low liquidity.
That's different too. Right. Now we're just talking about selling coins, right?
Yes.
Now, technically that APY, so again, I'm not so savvy on the super internal tech mechanics on all the rest of this. It's like a Steph and a Firebun and Dev Kyle questions. But I would, from my common sense game theory, game dev point of view, I would assume that APY generated is also going to be based on the amount of T-shares staked. So the cost of those T-shares or the quantifiable cost of the complexity on how they were is also going to change versus the APY. I don't know.
That's how the system acts later. Whenever the OA stops giving away so many coins to long-term holders, but in this type of situation, we're assuming that the OA owns 85% of the coins, that they want to get to 51% to distribute things more fairly, and that so basically you've only got 15% of coins that aren't owned by the OA, which has the strongest hands, and then 10% out of the whole system is staked. So you've got maybe 5, maybe 10% liquid, which is like, so there's a ratio there of like 33 to 50% of the real supply of HEX is unstaked. Right. And but it doesn't have that much of an effect on the APY because you're still getting a super high APY because the 85% of the coins
it's not even
held by the OA is not being staked. And so instead of getting a rate of like, 5 or 10% APY, you're getting a rate of 20 to 60%, depending on how long you stake.
Sure. And I think that's looking into the future. When the APY again starts to go down, is that going to be correlated to the amount of T-shares that you have, right? Really if you have old guard Genesis T-shares, how much is the difference going to be on new stakes for T-shares? Obviously, a T-share goes up. I don't know. It's an interesting question just to think about for the future. And it's those future questions that we're nowhere near at yet, which is, again, why I'm perfectly okay with penny. I'm not allergic to a penny like you were saying earlier. It's fine because I'll take the interest over price appreciation any day. I've seen bull cycles go up and down, and my Bitcoin has never earned me Bitcoin in interest. My ETH has never earned me ETH in interest. I tried to play with the silly staking coins, right? Kava. I do like Cardano. I'm a big propagator because I like Charles. I like the guy. I like the people in the ecosystem that are trying to bring good things to the
interest over price appreciation that you like, right? Like that's another secret mechanism of HEX to like reward you without tipping off the rest of the market. The price chart actually lies if you hold T-shares.
Correct. Exactly.
It's underwhelming you with how good Hex really is, right? It's keeping it a secret for a while.
And I'm okay with that. Like I said, it only takes a couple black swan events to throw it into a crazy, crazy situation. And at that point, then it's kind of be
White swan events.
And white swan events, yes. But the thing is, it's like just like anyone that wants to get into Bitcoin now at what 50K, it was $3,000 last year around this time, and no one was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna give me some Bitcoin." And now ETH is really expensive to use, and people are like, "But the fees." Like, well, you should have got more when it was cheaper, and not be worried about all the rest of it. If you can see the writing on the wall, look at the mechanics on what this does. That's the real theory, right? This is an interest staking coin. It may take money to get in and out of it, but I mean, even Richard said you can't make everyone rich. You know what I mean? This is just an avenue to get people what they want. Work hard as much as you can to get as much as you can. And, I wouldn't stake $60 of ETH right now just because it costs so much money to move ETH in an accurate smart contract. However, you could be buying ETH once we're getting everything moving through the Staker app to get more of a fluid way to send stuff. I mean, Kareem just said the other day, Gemini right to your Staker wallet should work. I still have not been still waiting on the address to get it all play out. But I can see the writing on the wall, and I know these people are hugely invested, A, in the community, B, in building the community, and C, making an ecosystem that builds those ideals easily. So the future's there, right? And, as all of us Hexicans eventually move our old stake wallets to the new Staker app, it's all going to be moving this fluid ecosystem of, up and to the right. So, yeah, the future's bright and bold in that regards. But just looking at the tools that what we're given, again, Bitcoin's making crazy all-time highs. Everyone's FOMOing in now on that. But the more that they do that, the more knowledge they're going to get about other opportunities, which will treat them better, right?
Now that money is in crypto, right? It's gotten the type of exposure that it needs to move on to something that's far superior, like Hex. And so that's pretty cool. I'm not keeping track of like how many things I like about low liquidity, but like the fourth or fifth thing and final thing that I can think of that I like about low liquidity is that it shakes out weak hands. So when somebody does try to sell and they move the price down 20% in a day, right? What that does is it allows people who don't believe in the project to also sell because they're scared and they don't know what's happening and they don't understand it. And it's, again, a wealth transfer from basically weaker hands to stronger hands at a better price. And it leads to more long-term holding and that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, it's interesting why you would want to hold Liquid Hex. I mean, it's not like I don't see the point of it, and I was doing it for a long time. Just
How
because,
long?
Right? Well, I was doing it a couple months at a time, and then I just didn't see the point in it anymore, especially since I got my dry powder back from something else. I had to have some risk reward dry powder to get something back into a lockable situation. And I had an old exchange coin that finally came out after holding it for 2 years and absolutely nothing. And I got my dry powder back, and I'm just like, fine, I can lock this up, not worry about it. And now I still have the ability to take advantage of buying opportunities versus just being completely, all in with no. It's actually just fine and easy to be all buckled in and riding the roller coaster. Keep your arms inside the ride. Don't unbuckle your seatbelt and you're fine, right? Enjoy the ride, which is one of the best values that Hex gives you versus something else. Is it lets you just stake and enjoy the ride. You don't have to. You don't have to screw yourself over. Otherwise, you will pay the staker class with emergency unstaking. You don't have to.
Thank you for your service.
And thank you. We thank you for your service, sir, or madam. We don't have to, or you don't have to suffer from the accidental human flaw of buying high and selling low, or fearing what you did is the wrong mistake, and like those fears are natural in just being human. So removing them isn't necessarily against free will. It's just having a nice benefactor take care of you and be like, you can do what you want, but here's the consequences, right?
Yeah. The consequences are grave, and you might not realize that at first. I hold 2% liquid, and that's enough. Like, to me, I want to have the next year of my life be only 2% of the rest of the life I have left to live. So, like,
Smart.
just in case something happens, all right, yeah, I want 2% liquid. But anything more than that to me seems like a huge risk, especially when you consider the price of a T-share, has gone up 70% since it started.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to compound that into the future to see how much you're really losing. It's not that you're just losing 70% of the future compounded interest. If my math is correct, you're losing much more than that, because it's a force multiplier in the sense that. And then the other thing, I think I want to do a stream with Steph or Firebun to talk about how much I respect the league system, in that it really taught us all in the early days the value of a T-share. And at this point, it might make sense to add another dimension of like the length of the T-share, because, if your T-shares are coming out already, that could move you down a league and trick you into thinking that it's just how many T-shares you have. It's not how many T-shares you have. It's how long you have how many T-shares.
Yeah, that is a very, very true thing, right? And I think, like, I don't. This is again, like, I use common sense game theory to look at things. It's kind of like in the game world, I build fake load bearing structures, right? So it doesn't really bear load. It looks like it does, but as long as it looks good enough, that works. Now, for smart contracts, good enough is not. So what I would definitely would love to see a graph again is like what a 10-year T-share would look different to someone who stakes their T-share for XYZ, and having that user input that ratifies the importance and the value. And it would even be cooler to see per stake how much interest you were getting as that breakdown happens, right? I mean, an even more meta version of what you're getting.
Is that kind of like what the HEX Germany keynote was on day one of the conference?
I think so. And again, I'm not a math guy. I'm just a common sense, make fake things guy. But those metrics would matter to me if I was trying to A, show someone something, or B, look at the intrinsic value on how I'm reward and or commonality of something, right? And those things help reinform and refocus my type of stuff. Again, I'm a huge proprietor of Charles. I like Charles Hopkinson, but I know that HEX hands down gets more percentage staking. And I liked Cardano way before HEX was around because it was a staking coin that they've been working on for years and years and years. Why am I not going to go with the best staking coin? Boom, brain dead. I'm just like, all right, fine, all in.
Because it's masquerading as a scam to keep people out of it who don't do their homework. Because those people have stronger hands.
Yeah, but the days of calling it a scam are long, long over. There's no proof or use case that you can still point back to. It's like calling the election a rigged election. You're like, you done with this game. You can't say that anymore to try to push.
But that doesn't help distribute the coins. Saying it's a rigged election, like saying that it's a scam, helps distribute the coins to people who have stronger hands, and bigger brains.
Yeah, but you can't really say it's a scam. The only thing that they were going to say it's a scam is that it was going to rug pull after big payday, and then Richard's going to run off with the ETH. It doesn't matter what the ETH is his, or the OAs, or whoever. You don't ask your supermarket who ran off with your dollars. You just pay them, and you take the food and you eat it.
Should I ask them?
No,
Should we start?
No. Why does it matter?
Because if you trace a dollar back to anywhere, you realize it's just a number in a database that's growing bigger and bigger, and money, money like isn't real, people.
Well, value is real, right?
Yes.
Value is real. And I was watching more stuff on values of dollars, and I don't think the fiat system that we have now is going to survive. Is going to have an upheaval, and there's going to be a dark reckoning on a whole bunch of different stuff. And the only way that it gets bought, here's the shitty thing, is that they talk about all this stuff about universal basic income, which I actually do believe that people should have a fair shot at life, regardless, because when they talk about socialism, it's socialism for the rich right now. It's like I can go learn things and now have a student debt that I can never pay off of, because if I can't immediately fit the entire sticker price for the whole allotted amount, the interest compounds so quickly that I can't get out of it. So they are pulling me apart in that same exact ecosystem, but they also get bailouts to be solvent, make risky decisions, to then use those bailout monies to make bets against other people, debt, and ideals that crush the same people that originally are paying them. So they're compounding interest on the financial structures suffering, and they get all the benefits. Whereas I would support a system where everyone gets a fair shot to unheave. Which again, why I loved what's happening with GameStop with all the hedge funds being wrecked, is because like this is the game you've been playing forever. It's just all the people on the internet got together and pressed the button at the same time, which is what you rich people have been doing forever.
Yes. And that's it's never been more obvious, right? Until people pull back the curtain and see with the GameStop and with people questioning like, where's all this money coming from, right? They're doing 1.7 trillion, then apparently they got plans to do a lot more after that, right? And
I mean, it's Wizard of Oz stuff, right? It's the guy behind the curtain, right? And now that you can see that there's no magical wizard, it's some old man pulling a lever that's manipulating a whole system.
Yeah, I saw a video that summarized how the Federal Reserve System works in a way that like had never been explained to me that well. I had heard pieces here and there, but to actually understand the dynamics of the entire system in a video that was just so well done, Conrad Zen had it on his channel. I've actually linked it in one of my playlists, but I'm going to see if I can rerun that video. It's like a 15-minute video. I'm going to see if I can rerun it. Just because I would rather 500 or 1,000 people see that video than like even continue my career on YouTube. Like that's how important I think it is. Like it blew my mind. So follow me on Theta right now once I get banned from YouTube for blowing people's minds with macroeconomics.
Technically, there are ways you can get around it. What you would want to do is, let's say, put a little bit of static in to offset the audio, and then you would put some static in to offset the video, and then put that on a randomizer in your video editor to re-record it and then loop it, and that would screw up the algorithm.
All right, done. Like I've already taken heat enough for having bad audio, so that's no problem.
I mean, that's all you're doing a hiccup. So
there were like 5,000 people who watched our first Quant Gang video, and like the audio is so bad, it's hard for me to even listen to it because there was so much crackling and like my AirPod was broken and it was just.
I mean, I'm rebuilding my office right now, so I'll eventually have green screened. I mean, it's sitting behind me, but I have like zero room in between here being against the thing and here being right here, and I just didn't want it. I don't want to deal with it. So soon, and then I'll make a Koolaid background and make some fun stuff.
This is why you're the tech guru.
Yeah, it's kind of like I also don't like sign my signature pretty when I do anything in the real world. I make pretty things for like my day job, and like when I'm doing the real world stuff, like sign, check mark, done. Thank you for your service. I don't want to deal with any of that shit.
That's right.
But yeah, no. A big one for me was Eric Thomas, I believe his name is when you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Finding those little.
I like that.
Things. It's a really good story. And finding those little nuggets of wisdom to keep having you go forward is worth getting banned sometime, or it's worth just getting someone that exposure that made you go, aha, right? To be honest, for me, it was the Staker app, right? Like I saw a bunch of people coming on and all the rest of that. But when I saw how, and the community was great, especially when I was just trying to learn. Is it a scam? Is it not a scam? I was watching a whole bunch of different people. And then like I saw the app in the community, which differed so much more than anything else from an exchange token. I mean, I was in all the Ponzi's back in like 2017 heyday. Everything proved itself as not only transparent, forward facing, building upon its promises and its endeavors. And it had a lot of potential that showcased all the risk and rewards there. Like all the everything was wide on open for you to get it. And then the second I saw the Staker out coming, writing on the wall, and you move forward with that. So getting people those aha moments, no matter what it is very, very important to push them to, again, just like you're a therapist, to give them the confidence finalization to ratchet everything together to get the aha moment. And then boom, they move to their next level.
Yes. Now tell me more about what it was in the Staker app that that gave you the aha moment, or that impressed you so much that kind of sealed the deal for you with HEX.
Well, I mean, I think I put it on like a couple thousand before then, but like I had, one Bitcoin in a Bitcoin IRA, which again, it was generating me interest on Bitcoin, but not your keys, not your coins. It was risk versus reward, right? I wanted passive income. I've always been looking for passive income. I played with a whole bunch of stupid shit trying to get passive income. I was waiting for Cardano to be like the passive income thing. Then Shelly came on and it finally like ticked into there. And that wasn't long before I was learning about HEX. It all kind of like culminated at the end of last year or mid part of last year. So, but the app, before they even released their 2.0 features, which are like, even like 24-word seed key, so eventually you can move it to a ledger. Should you want to move to a hardware wallet? Mitigating the gas concern, looking at automatic ladders, but just the app in itself gave confidence that there was a community building on something that I already knew was released, immutable, audited, and was off into the wind. Right? It had already gone out, and from, let's say, an infant had moved into a toddler, or a juvenile, not like in third or fourth or fifth grade yet, because we're still getting to those mile markers, but they're already,
they grow up so quick, don't they?
They do it that. And so you can see the quick longevity of, because crypto is based on community. There's a lot of it based on money, but there's a lot of back and forth based on community. So again, look at the Doge kids, right? I'm not hating on any coin. I think tribalism, that one thing is the best and that's all that there is. You fall into the exact same patterns that you are making fun of. So you should always look at what your use case is and why it's goddamn good, and stand by that use case. You don't bake a cake to also run a marathon. Right? You have one thing that you do one thing for, and you do that very, very well. You can do more than one thing and add on to that, but don't be dissuaded by like Doge. It's the power of the meme. It's the power of the internet to be able to like come together and do something wacky if everyone does it all at the same time, which is what the people saw with Wall Street Bets. It's the power of the meme. And so it does that very well. I'm curious. I'd be curious to like.
I'm quoting you on that.
Yeah, I'll charge you some HEX rent and stakes on that those quotes. But it's so fucking true, my friend. And it'd be interesting to see like what Elon Musk or someone like that would say if they actually got true information about, because they obviously understand. HEX isn't necessarily compound interest. What it does is it has multiple different levers to basically give you what compound interest is. And those levers theoretically move, and they move in a parabola on basic math shapes and equations that work out. To just say, I'm going to give you 50x your money in XYZ, that's how you get in Ponzi territory. But this actually has multiple levers and equations that do what compound interest is supposed to do. And so if you understand those variables and vectors, it makes a lot more sense, right? And
Elon's an engineer. He would love it.
The thing is
because
that
it works.
that's it. Like, that's the other thing is like before I did have the worry of the FUD and all the rest of it, but it worked.
Oh, yeah.
And then I kept looking more and more and more, and it worked. And then I started to watch more and more about Richard, and I started to really, really, really enjoy his character and his bravado and what he says, because he doesn't give a fuck. I appreciate that personally as a industry professional that does some crazy shit. I respect that kind of thing, especially when you're helping people. But like, again, it was once the traction gets taken off and the snowball effect happens, you're going to wish that it didn't, because then you were going to want more, or want your friend to get more, or want your girlfriend that you just got together with. Man, I wish you would have told you this a year ago, or like right before Big Payday, I have a friend, her and her husband are two incredible fire dancers. For their baby shower, I put in a 15-year stake for them. And it's not the biggest amount of tokens in the world. I mean, I'm with my student loans, I'm not the wealthiest person. I barely get by, but I can get by paycheck to paycheck. But I knew that little amount of money would be worth so much more into their future that, like, God knows in 15 years, man. I mean, like looking at just the interest on a 15-year stake, and let's just say you had 40,000 tokens, 20,000 tokens plus Big Payday, so it doubles, and then you're doing the longevity on that. So let's say 60,000 tokens now with, say, $5 as a price point plus interest in 15 years, and then nobody can know. But that's, look at Bitcoin and ETH, right? Look at like just the longevity on how things push up. Look at the state
Tune
of
into Quant Gang episode 4 this Tuesday, because we're going to know. We're basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to run the minimum cost of a T-share, which should actually be able to be calculated, because we know when T-shares are coming out. We don't know the maximum cost of a T-share, like how high it could get ratcheted up. We might be able to find an upper bound, but I think we're going to know what the lower bound is on the price, which is going to help us discover, that doesn't speak exactly to your point, but it's there. Knowing the future market supply of something in such an honest way that's immutable to a certain extent, right? Somebody could end early, right? But again, you can calculate that. Those are numbers that you can run.
Mm-hmm.
Because people's stakes, the size and length of their stakes. So it's a totally new market that is going to be slowly appreciating in value, right? Richard and Dev Kyle, they have said they designed HEX to leave meat on the bones, right? Richard at the conference, at the end of the HEX 2020 rewind, right? He's explaining, check it out. Like, we intentionally left meat on the bone. What did you want? A 5,000x in the first year? No, like 352x is good enough. Right?
Yes, it is.
Thanks, guys, for the super chats. I appreciate it. I have not turned on ads because I hear that's how you get banned. So, thanks, Bob.
Yeah. Fucking YouTube algorithms. I don't know. Like, it's the same issue that if central parties, right? Let's just jib a jab for a little bit, right? So let's say what did Libra get rebranded to? Whatever.
DM.
Facebook. DM.
Like DM me.
Like, oh, really? I thought it was like, now that I'm thinking about it, like DM like pants, like denim or something like that.
No, Carpe Diem. DIEM.
Oh,
but so it's psychologically advanced, because then, like, all the kids and their parents that they get money from, they all have to ask, like, what do you mean? Direct message me or pay me with the new Facebook coin that I'm educating you about, even though, like, even though I shouldn't be educating you about this. Like, I'm educating you about it because it's in the name and it's confusing, and that's genius.
Well, I mean, it actually is. Remember, Rich, a lot of these people have very genius people that work for them. And again, I've said it on streams before, and Richard said it, like, what is a Yahoo? What is a Google? You want something to be obscure, interesting, and perks your savviness. But that fiat onboard ramp which will allow people with one of the more exclusive messenger infrastructure to start to send liquidity back and forth. That's just going to bring more knowledge, infrastructure, ability, and ecosystem into the space, right? If you really think about it, the more people that get into crypto and all the rest of it, it's like it's like bad analogy because I personally love studying nuclear technology, and because that's what my original film was on nukes in college.
I love that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. One of these days I'll rebuild it because it looks cool, but man, that's shitty work from fucking 10 years ago. But the thing is that the more countries that have arms to make an arms race makes their value and their message stronger. And so that's what inherently that fiat money is scared of companies having the ability to have more nuclear arsenal than they do. And especially when theirs run at a deflationary rate because what's up, dude? The inflationary part of a dollar that allows you to grow. Sorry, roommate just got home. It gives you the arms race that makes you higher than something else, and so that inherently makes them scared. And they want to slap regulations around, but they don't want to check Fort Knox for the gold they left under the cover. Right?
So I've got a really important question that you just reminded me of by saying that, that I've got for you. I think you're going to be the best person to answer it. First of all, Wake Dog, like, go spend time with your wife. It's her birthday. You can watch this on replay, like, for sure. And so here's one question I have, and I kind of prepared this question because I knew I was going to be talking to you, the master of game theory. So
I don't know about all that. I try well.
What's the give and take, or like what are the parameters of governments that should be like, so let's just say the United States government, right? Because they hold the world reserve currency. Like to what decides how long they're honest enough in printing currency that the currency is still valuable? It's kind of like the game theory of Bitcoin, if you can follow me here. Like, sure. If you're able to print the Bitcoin, then you don't want to make any mistakes, right? Because then it wouldn't be worth anything. Same thing with the dollar, though. Like there's got to be something that held it together for so many years to where they didn't just print infinite amounts. But it seems like through all different currencies in time, at some point, it got to that part. And so,
well, they do essentially, and they did. The difference is the dollar is based on the U.S. war machine. That's why most money goes into the biggest military that may or may not invade you. You never know. And because of that, they have a little way to poke the entire global infrastructure with a threat, right? And I don't want to get too much.
They've innovated more probably than any other, society, like power grab in history, right? Because they do extract wealth from the rest of the world by printing more dollars and making sure that other countries settle their trade deficits in dollars. So when we print 50% more dollars in a year, that's actually stealing other countries' wealth even more than it's stealing the United States wealth if other countries are having more GDP than we are, right?
Well, let me ask you this question in comparison to that. Like, so with the British pound is technically worth more than a dollar, but why isn't the British pound the global reserve currency and the United States is? It's because we have a bigger military and we shove it into places. And so they're more scared of what we do. But then if we want to look at like now, technically we also had more land to, we stole, if we want to go non-political, all the rest of that stuff. But we have more resources to scoop together along with a war machine, along with something that invades, right? And so that's what makes it intrinsically worth more because the stick is there, so accept the carrot. I think we're going to see shifting in trade volumes and all the rest of those type of things, especially with the way that, other countries are handling, coronavirus, getting back to work, the industrial machine, promises that were brokered between our allies for the last administration. Again, I'm not trying to be political, just speaking facts, right? And so like those things are going to have a ratchet through what makes the dollar a dollar, and what also gave it its weight in immutability of what they could do and take away from it. If a dollar was still backed by metal, it would be different, but it's not. And so like now it's based on a promise. Well, they don't keep their promises. So different things moving forward have different values on what a promise or your value is worth. And so, right now, lumber is really, really expensive in the United States because we can't import it from Canada, which used to be our super awesome trade partner. I mean, like with Bitfinex, I was a truck driver for 2.5 years. So I did 48 state in Canada, and I picked up paper and lumber from Canada and brought it into the States. And so now with all of those things going on, the cost and value of all the rest of that is there. Hold on 1 second.
Just a note to the audience. I don't know what is up with so many people in HEX having a background in transportation, whenever HEX is a way to transport value through the fourth dimension of time and pay your future self. Wait, maybe I just answered my own question. All of you movers of value into the future. I guess we're all truckers in a way. We truck our HEX through time with
I've got some crazy damn stories about my rig driving days. I'm sure Bitfinex has them as well. Different, God, before COVID was a different life altogether. But anyway, looking at the intrinsic value of a dollar is again why I said earlier. Look at what value your proposition does, your vehicle does, and look at what it does well and continue that. For example, a reefer truck in trucker terms is a refrigerated truck that brings frozen goods. You can't haul tanker with fluids and all the rest of that in a reefer. You can't haul wood and the other type of things. Different vehicles produce different things that intrinsically allow everything to work as an ecosystem, as an economy. And so like, again, without Bitcoin punching ahead as the OG store of value, and then we have Ethereum being the OG programmable contract, now we've got a different value or character class, if you would. If we want to go back to like leveling up your wallet on a character, this character class is staking, and it gets you a particular intrinsic amount of value that's paid in another intrinsic value, which is the programming class of essentially like the ecosystem, right? And everyone's like, well, the fees and it costs so much to do these things and move it to its own coin. Well, you don't have the liquidity and push through as having the first computing programmable class of coin. And so like all of these brothers and sisters move together in an ecosystem to make sure that you work together. And that's how, transportation works. That's how everything, if you really think about it, has its cogs and its wheels. Not everything could be the wheel. Something has to be the horse, right? If you don't have the horse, don't have the driver, you don't have the bay to carry the thing in, you don't have the ability to move the whole unit, right? Not everything can be a wheel. Not everything can be a horse. Not everything can be a driver. And then, everything evolves into something else, whether it evolves into a car, a plane, anything else. But it all still works on the same principles of cogs and wheels.
I'm glad I didn't complain about fees when I bought my first Ethereum for $12.50 with a $7.50 fee.
Man.
I wish I would have bought more.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
But so tell me more about how valuable it is to people to have characters in their wallets.
I think
for their wallet to be their character.
Sure. Well, the difference is like knowing that the knowledge is there is the essence of what a character is, and how you fill up those buckets in knowledge and then acting on that knowledge for execution is the next lesson. Like I get frustrated with people that I've tried to talk to for months or years about stuff, and I say knowledge is free. You don't. I mean, you can just put in your $60 every pay period, and I know that may not be a lot, or maybe a lot to you, but the knowledge to do that is free. So leveling yourself up as a character on what an ecosystem is and how prides and practices are, and what has worked and what has not worked before. Like, you don't have to be a genius to understand, if you want to, the rise and fall of EOS and that crazy ICO, or like why, again, my friend just had his Ripple locked out of his Coinbase account. I'm like, dude, they got slapped with the security. Why weren't you paying attention? Some people don't have the time, right, to do that. And I know I've fallen super victim. Right now I'm working on this new gig, and I've been busy with a whole bunch of things, so I only can catch everyone's streams like super late. So it's like between the 2 and 4 a.m. is when I'm trying to tune in and try to catch up. But oh Lord, like, there's always something moving in crypto, and not a lot of people have that time to really dedicate themselves. Also, to get past those first initial hiccups, which takes most no coiners a long time to get around, right? They used to have a documentary that got pulled. You can still YouTube it or torrent it or something. It's Banking on Bitcoin. And before I even allowed people to talk to me, back when I was a crypto tuber back in 2017, when I left the gaming industry.
Genius.
But they have to at least
requirement.
Get through this. You do, because if you don't have this much of a level up in your character, I'm just going to speak at you, and you are going to be like, you said number go up, but it go down. Right? You missed the whole damn thing.
I'm going to do that. That's so much more time efficient to just say you have to watch this playlist before you talk to me about crypto.
Yes.
Yes.
So, like, yes. And so, like, I take the time that there's a couple people that I'm their angel, and I watch out for them, because I've fucked up everything that you could feasibly fuck up with a lot more zeros on the end of it. And unfortunately, you get wrecked in crypto, you ain't gonna learn shit. But it works in the gaming industry, calling failing fast. And so if you fail fast in the gaming industry, and you basically eat your babies and just get rid of them and be like, well, this is where that didn't work, go, finish it. And you recycle it and be like, well, just because it was cute and fuzzy, it didn't work, doesn't mean I'm going to hold on to it, right? But a lot of people get emotionally attached. That's that human element of this type of yin and yang thing. So doing your research is a great term to say, but if you don't know what research you're doing, and you never know what you don't know till you don't know it, right? There's no way to have the magic playlist book. But I know that for me, I had a couple. I
have a magic playlist.
I have a couple that I put people through. It's about 4 hours, but you literally can't talk to me about it, because the first thing you're going to be is like, I have Robinhood and I have Coinbase, and I'm going to be like, I can see why you're the pleb that most people get fed on, and I can try to teach you about that, but you really need to come to this understanding, like, by yourself. And Angel had put worth in it, right? Like, I gifted the two Fire family people for their baby shower, a 15-year stake. They have no idea how to access it. I want to, like, over the years, try to at least get them to buy ETH, right? You don't have to figure out the whole HEX thing, but you're going to need ETH to interact with this anyways. But once you get that first thing on, because the Coinbasers or the Robinhood people are like, I need a one-button app to click everything. I'm like, well, it's coming.
I'm pretty sure you and I are going to make a video game that's going to be wildly successful that teaches people how to do everything in HEX, like, without actually screwing anything up.
The HEX organ trail?
Yes. Ooh. I'm registering the domain as we speak.
You're a master of that. HEX organ trail. But no, that's the whole thing. It's like, as we evolve, and if we want to go back to, like, characters and an ecosystem, right? So a character as a human, a native human, it's birthed, it toddles, it walks, it talks, it runs, it falls, it learns, it creates, and then it dies. And so that cycle of getting to the running, the creating, and creating, whether it's like children or companies or ideals or memories. You're truly immortal if your thought lasts forever, right? And people do it through the binary,
I
humans,
agree with that.
right?
That's
But
profound.
Ideally, that. I was teaching this master class on storytelling to some people at work, and the trick is that you want to make something timeless, and to be timeless is to be immortal, and to be that is to be so profound that it's sticky, it doesn't go away. So doing those type of things is what allows you the avenue of opportunity to capitalize on timeless things that are being created now, right? We can see it again, I'm almost all solely in HEX, right? I'm a huge believer across the entire board. But as a game designer, as someone that designs virtual worlds, tribalism is a little iffy. You can screw yourself up there. And that's why I say, look at the intrinsic value of what you're trying to do. For example, ETH sends pretty fast, but it's expensive right now. There are other avenues to send lower nominal, like Dash again. And the fact that we're having conversations with the Dash people is fucking fantastic, because homogenizing those worlds, right? You just don't ship stuff over plane. There's plane, train, boat, car, truck. Everything has its purpose. Don't corner yourself into one thing. Look at how one thing is very, very, very good at what it does. A plane is very, very, very good about going up, right? So you don't want a boat to be a plane, right?
HEX is pretty good at going up too.
That's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. But I want to just reinforce knowledge over ignorance. Knowledge is what you do when you level up a character. Ignorance is just holding on to a shiny thing that you found and you're not educated. Right. Yeah. And so as we move forward as a ecosystem and as a tribe and a community, things are going to evolve around us, and we are going to continue the ideals of what we are. We are a staker class, and we use that staker class ideals to benefit us, because those are the mechanics that we are working under the guise of. Happens to run on Ethereum now. Who knows what will happen? It doesn't matter. Our use case is staking. We can add more things. Like, again, margin trading, which Richard wants to add. And it, again, allows those black-white swan events that we were talking about, too. All you need is one whoopsie, price go up. And usually it doesn't come back down onto, Kareem talks about, the parables on the math and how everything cascades and wedges, and those wedges keep going up. Like, who uses dial-up modem anymore? They don't, right? Who's going to need to Western Union people money when most people have wallets? They're not.
Stop flooding my dial-up bags.
I mean, just saying, if you want to handshake, be like, pew, pew, pew.
Next thing I know, you're going to say something bad about Pokemon cards.
I do have some theory on trading card games and all the rest of those type of stuff. So yeah, that's the whole thing, is looking at the ecosystem as a whole and realizing the powerfulness of the game theory that we are implementing. And again, Richard just said he made a CD on a blockchain. You can't really call it a scam. It's a CD on a blockchain that adheres to a particular set of rules. If you don't adhere to the rules that you said that you were going to, you will be punished. How punished? Well, how severely do you want to be punished? You knew the rules. The rules are rules for a reason. That is game theory, a commonality of mechanics and rules that work. And those rules allow people not to manipulate the system, which is what we see in the current financial ladder and the current financial eco structure, on how, suddenly, because something is getting wrecked by the people who wreck people, now regulators can come in and press the stop button. There's no stop button in HEX. Rich has already said all the extra sites that can go interact with the smart contract without, go.hex.com or go.hex.win or any of the other.
You mean they can't take away the buy button?
No, they can't take away the buy button. They can't take away the sell button. They can't do.
They can't bail out somebody who's using the market information
That's
against
right. That's right. That's right.
us.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
Oh
amazing what
wow.
happens when the game gets played against them, and
Yeah.
they don't like that. But that's where we're going to still have whale shake up and sell downs. Right? There's no way around that. It is money. Money attracts sharks, not our kind of sharks or whales or all the rest of that, but they attract a feeding frenzy, and those feeding frenzy are people that are trained to do this and eat on people who are trained to be emotional. So that's why you want to
Well,
stake.
I guess it's a
buckle in.
bad day for them that people can lock their money, and it
That's it.
doesn't matter how emotional they get.
That's well, I mean, and if they do get emotional and all the rest of that stuff, you know what they're doing? They're just paying the stake class, and that's
That's right.
ideally what the character of a wallet that we have is. It's strictly just a staker as a class, not worrying about all the rest of the side mechanics are great. What we just do is encourage people to take and understand the time and the value of money and how that evolves into something that's applicable into many other aspects of ecosystems, development, the future. Who knew when email was developed that now we'd have augmented reality where I can put on some glasses and some imaginary character can be standing next to me and they'd be basically Clippy from Microsoft Word, right? Or they're taking down my grocery list or something random. Wasn't even like, I mean, there are futurists that wrote about that stuff, but
They locked those people in a nut house, the people who could predict that.
it's real. That is the future of entertainment, augmented reality. Once the HoloLens becomes cheap and then multiple knockoffs get it, where like, you know, you're not paying $4,000 for a little piece of eyewear that goes over the top of you that mitigates your entire smartphone like onto your eyes, like a Minority Report. Done, son.
I feel bad for people who like are selling their HEX now, or they're like not staking right, because if you don't stake right in HEX, then you will lose your status and you will never be able to get it back. And I believe that the status is going to be more refined over time. And so literally, what do you want? Do you want to like lose your digital identity? Do you want to lose your character, right? Do you want to play with a worse character?
Yeah, and you just downgrade yourself is what you do. You like go back in time and you like make mistakes. But what I don't understand is why people aren't dealing with their crypto like a 401k. I mean, I turned 40 this year, so I technically am a 15-year stake away from being able to access my retirement account and all the rest of that silly thing. But you can treat it like a proper 401k that you have access to in a laddered system and stop playing this trading game that's going to wreck you. There are people that win at trading. You can't say that there are people that don't. However, as a seasoned senior game developer, a lot of people want to say they want to make a game, but they don't want to suffer to learn how to output it and get it out the door and have it be good. There's a lot of suffering that goes in to getting to that point. They just like the idea of it. So liking the idea.
You have to quit when the game changes. If you don't quit when the game changes, you're not going to be a winner.
It's exactly right. And sometimes, again, like I said, you get attached to your babies. You don't sell when you should. You make bad decisions. You get emotional. This just removes all the rest of it. So
I'm very uncomfortable with this metaphor of having to eat our babies not surviving.
That's how the gods were created in Greek mythology. Remember?
No, I don't. But that's interesting. Why did it have to? Why? So is that part of the lesson that they needed to have the best successor and not care so much about their kids that they would have a weak successor?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Like, who is so Zeus's father? Zeus's father was Kronos. So Kronos was the god, if I remember right, drawn off random stuff that ate his own kids. But yeah, that's how the other gods came from that system, is by overthrowing him, if I remember right. Sometimes I
this
mess
is
up.
not eating your kids' advice, by the way.
No, not at all. However, the ideals
Stop smoking K2.
and that
you ancient gods, you.
That's right. Goddamn ancient god bath salts right there. So, but the thing about recycling your ideals into a new generation of excellence is what that metaphor comes from, right? Yeah, don't get attached to too many things and allow the evolution to take place on its own. If you trap something in, you suffocate it, right? And it's the same thing as like the financial system was trapped too far into the elite, and they took away.
Yes.
I mean, my situation is a perfect example. I have been a good citizen trying to pay off my student loans for over 10 years, which now, if you do the quick math, I mean, let's just do some. Hey, if people say they want to like see gas price, how much they pay in gas price, it's painful. I do this with student loans. So let's just say a nice round 1,300 number times 12 times 10. That's $156,000 I've paid in student loans on interest. I have the same principle. It's wild.
This is how he knows the power of compound interest.
The thing is that it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
When they lock you into something, you're locked in, and you have to figure out another avenue to get out of. And that's why when I found crypto, I saw the opportunity that it was the counter opportunity to what I was being given. And so I jumped on it fully, and ended up leaving the gaming career to tube for it for a year and a half, something like that, before I got back in. But yeah, man, like it's pretty interesting as far as the ecosystem on where you can go, what you can do, and what your reality is, and where you can hold that to moving forward, cascading into the future, right?
If you think airdrops are cool now, wait until airdrops come in the future that are only paid to the people who have the best statistics on having strong hands in HEX, or when you only get into that VIP club if you're a cool crab or above.
I mean, all that is feasibly possible. All that is feasibly possible. I think airdrops are a little risky, but
Risky?
I mean,
What's risky about getting free money?
It doesn't always become free. I've
What's risky about throwing away money, first of all?
I mean, I did it. That's the whole thing. It's like I didn't get 1 inch because I didn't have liquidity. I had dry powder, so I burned an ETH, and then I've got some. I think every wallet should have a little bit of dry powder in them, so at least you can do the transaction. Everybody fucks up once the whole buy all and like ETHEX.com, and they buy all their ETH into Hex. Now they can't move the thing off their wallet to stake because they sold all their ETH. You always need to make sure that you have gas in the tank.
Yeah, they need that seems like it would be something that would be easy to fix. Like just default in ETH,
I believe
as a front end, you could just couldn't they put like a note on there?
They could, but that's something that I'm sure that Stefan Firebone will address in the Staker app. We can't solve the world's problems for everyone, but that is right there. That is a user experience or a UX that if people experience. Now, let's just say you just burned your entire crypto supply, and now you couldn't move it, and you had other things to do, and then you had to go with the fiat onboard ramp. Let's say that you went through a checking account through Coinbase, and that took a week. Let's say that you were trying to do something immediately to do a market buy today, but you accidentally pressed the max button, and you already used your checkbook account for the entire week. Now you would have to wait 8 days to now make a purchase, which actually has a longevity of time to get the extra gas that you need to finish. You accidentally press the max button. But I mean, you get
time to get a third job bussing tables and take those cash tips to the back alley where they're doing
those crypto
ETH
deals.
trades for
That's right. ETH trades back alley in Cyberpunk 2027. The future. Yeah, but the thing is that that's why I said knowledge is free, right? Tuning into these channels like yours and
scams are free, plus they have an advertising budget.
There's that ultimate scam, college education.
It ranks up there with somebody named Hex Help Center like messaging you on Telegram every time somebody new posts in hex.com chat.
I mean, like everyone shouldn't. I mean, we all fall for it once. Don't ever send money in Telegram, ever. If it's not on something that's tied
Don't
to
ever
your wallet,
give up your seed words.
Don't ever do anything.
Don't ever meet
right?
somebody in a back alley outside the 7-Eleven. Like,
not the 712, just 7-Eleven. 712 is fine.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I mean, as long as we can get away from this like eating babies topic, I think we lost a lot of viewers from that. But now we can give people the most important information because we've filtered out the people who are gonna be getting overly attached to their dollars instead of their hex or something.
But that's what the whole term is about, right? Don't be attached to the things that you held precious. Not all glitters is gold. Right. And that's where like you don't want to hold fool's gold. You want to hold real value.
I want to hold a bunch of wallets that have had a MetaMask swap.
I didn't say it. I mean, like I said, I did it too. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Okay, Brissology has a comment that's
it came for Hex.
Wild.
I mean, it's a professional term in the art industry. Don't
hold on
to your
Don't take it too literally.
Yeah, don't take it too literally. It's a professional term if you want to chip shit.
Well, thanks so much for joining. This has been a blast as always. I really enjoy talking to you and learning all the things that we've learned tonight. This might be one of those episodes that I go back and watch again myself because I enjoyed it so much.
It's an awesome pleasure, man. I don't know if I'll ever start a stream again. I promised myself I wouldn't do that, but I'm always happy to hop on and talk with guys. And, at the end of the day, it's knowledge is the most important thing that you can get. It's free. It's out there. You just have to look. You just don't know what you don't know till you get there and you dive in. And I wished I would have taken that earlier into myself. And that's why I don't mind giving back. And I absolutely love what you and Joe and Exotic and what, Silver the Antidote is doing, what, the Cap and everyone over there is doing on DS. And again, it's about the evolution of how everything grows and how everything evolves. And if you were gifted enough to get in earlier, you would have done very, very well. But you still have so much opportunity now. And that opportunity is available to you as knowledge free. And all you have to do is figure out how the cycles turn, how those cogs and wheels go. Again, what Steph and Fireburn are going to be doing with StakeWrap is going to revolutionize the way that we handle cost on staking, the ability to transfer wallets from a 24 seed phrase into a hardware wallet. God knows what's going to happen, but they're going to be the front end of it. And you get the lock tick community of people that are telling you pay attention to what could happen with MetaMask, 1inch or Uni. Pay attention to what could happen on what's the growth system. We have a lot of other cross people that we're trying to get from other tokens, platforms, investment strategies, livelihoods. That is value. That is super amount of value. And you can't water that down. It's just there. And it just gets better and better and better. And again, that's the true inherent value of compound interest, is it just makes yourself stronger, right? People think of it as such other variable, but compound interest is putting value into yourself over and over and over again. That's
I like that. There's so much we have learned from you tonight and in multiple nights. Part of the list is there are many games you can play in crypto. Why wouldn't you stake HEX? Screw student loans. Show up for yourself. If you want to live forever, have better ideas.
That's right. Well, everyone, always a damn pleasure. Maddie, you're a gentleman and a scholar, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Sounds great. Thanks for joining.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you thought it was over. Just kidding. There's way too many people watching, and we got another 5 minutes until Discourse Syndicate starts. Your effing hangout, as the captain would say. So I'm going to stick with you guys. I'm not going to leave you out in the cold. I'm not going to give you a chance to go have a bathroom break. Like, if you're not listening through your bathroom breaks, then I'm not going to tell you all the smartest stuff I know about crypto. So hope that's okay. If not, too bad. Let's see. We got some questions here in the chat that we can address here. Bob Andre, again, sorry for your loss. I'm going to be able to share his donation address because this is a member of the HEX community who got scammed into losing his life savings in Bitcoin. And so we're all compassionate about that. And here's I'm going to share his ETH address that people can donate to, just, to support him and to, to be aware also that scams are happening, that people in HEX are being targeted, and that we need to know not to share our seed phrases with anybody under any circumstances, even if they are using advanced technology to impersonate my voice or Kareem's voice. Don't do it. Let's see. Great stream. Thank you so much for your positive feedback. Do we feel that it's too late to qualify for a MetaMask airdrop, or should you be buying and putting in HEX instead? I can't answer that because I don't have a silver ball or a crystal ball. I don't have any of those balls. I do have enough balls though to tell you that I think you should analyze your own financial situation. If you're like me, you might be willing to set up a MetaMask airdrop by being able to find when the low fees are. Just like any situation in crypto, you want to spend an adequate amount of time doing your own research. Watch some of the streams that I've been doing that tell you about certain ways to decrease the cost of gas, right? By using the tools, I think it's ethgasstation.info. There's links in the descriptions of all my YouTube videos that are going to be super helpful. I update those after the show. So even if it wasn't there at the beginning of the show, it's going to be there at the end. So go ahead and use those resources and learn, and then decide for yourself what's right. I've been dropping probably $35 to $55 per MetaMask wallet. And I'm setting those up on separate seeds again, because I think that that's worth the extra legwork that it takes. So I think HEX is pretty much known that you're going to be earning interest, and so especially if you're already doing like a weekly or monthly buy with HEX, I don't know why you wouldn't run it through MetaMask. But as I've commented before, remember that in MetaMask, they default the fees to the highest, most expensive level because they want the trade to go through. So if you're willing to risk having a transaction get hung, you can decrease the amount of gas that you're paying for that. Let's see. Yes. Thank you, Bob. Let me see. Oh, Periscope didn't like that I made the comment. There's, I'll go ahead and put this ETH address. I'll put it on Twitter and I'll put it in the description of this video. But that should be the address that Bob is using for his donation address. Almost dropped your AirPods in the toilet too many times now. Okay, well, we don't want that. Those are expensive to replace. I've improved at hosting. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I feel like I'm growing because of all the opportunities that the community has given me to have a platform and for amazing people like Crypto Koolaid to come on the show. It's really great. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to give reasonable answers. Let's see. Okay. Did I watch the stream with Crypty Girl? I started it. Yeah, they were super alpha. Let's see. I probably watched the first half an hour before I went to bed last night. So that's good. 65 people. It's a lot for you. The numbers have been growing so much. It's really amazing. And a lot of people watch it on replay because there's so much HEX content. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody who's watching. And I know that the channel just keeps growing. We've been getting thousands of views on certain videos. And so that tells me a lot about what people find value in. It tells me that I might be getting better at making thumbnails, but go ahead and keep continuing to tune in because I think the content is going to continue getting better and better. And without any further ado, I'm going to play my outro. Stick around and I'll drop the link for Discourse Syndicate. Thanks for coming tonight. It was a great show, and stake wisely, my friends. Oh, wow. That was like perfect timing. They were just starting up their intro. So that's really amazing. And it looks like, we have some people who are watching in Twitch. And so I'm going to see if I can do a raid here. And I wonder what Discourse Syndicate is called on Twitch. They are called Discourse __ Syndicate. Discourse __ Syndicate. Let's see if that raid will go through. Okay, this channel is intended for mature audiences. Okay, hopefully that'll work. Hopefully the raid is going through, everybody. I really appreciate you all tuning in. Let's see. And go ahead and click on this link so you can join Discourse Syndicate. I know it's going to be a great show tonight. It's the F and Hangout. So again, thanks for joining, and I'll be streaming almost every day. So until next time, stake wisely, my friends.